Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first deep dive of Almost Erased.
I'm excited to be here.
This show is all about uncovering those stories from the past.
The ones that some have tried to, well, bury or erase from history.
Yeah, we've dug them up, so to speak, and now it's up to you, our listener, to decide if you believe them or not.
That's right.
So let's jump straight into it. Ooh, we're diving into something spooky. Perfect for a dark and stormy night, you know? Even if it isn't storming where you are. Lately, I've been doing some internet deep diving myself, just clicking link after link, and you know how it is. You end up in some seriously weird corners of the web.
Oh, yeah, I know those corners.
And let me tell you, some of the stories I found, seriously creepy. And tonight, I'm sharing one of the most unsettling.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. What kind of story are we talking?
The story of Wakefield. It's this forgotten coastal town, shrouded in mist and whispers.
Uh-oh. That sounds ominous already.
A town with secrets, buried deep. Secrets that maybe should have stayed buried.
Okay, I am hooked. Where is this Wakefield? Is it even a real place?
Well, that's part of the mystery. Details. Fuzzy, like someone's trying to erase it. But from what I've pieced together, somewhere on the Atlantic coast, the kind of place where the sea and the land are always kind of like wrestling. Shadows and fog everywhere.
Okay, getting a good picture in my head. Keep going.
Crumbling colonial houses. Empty storefronts. You know that feeling like you're being watched from every window? That's Wakefield.
Creepy for sure. But every town has its secrets. What makes this one so special?
True, but Wakefield's secrets. A little more sinister, and at the heart of it all, the Harrington family, one of the oldest families in town, history steeped in seafaring, and whispers of witch hunting.
Witch hunting. Wow, okay. Now that's not your everyday town history. What's the story there?
It's fragmented, but generations back, Harringtons were known for rooting out, dealing with, anyone suspected of witchcraft. They saw themselves as protectors, guardians, against the darkness, you know.
I see. Yeah, that's a heavy burden to carry, generation after generation.
And maybe, just maybe, that burden became a curse. You see, the last of the Harringtons, Old E. Harrington, he was obsessed with the occult.
Yeah, I'm listening.
We're not talking dusty old books and spooky trinkets. No, this was serious stuff. Artifacts, ancient manuscripts, strange idols, things radiating power, danger. Imagine crates of this stuff being hauled up to his mansion, Harrington House. This Gothic behemoth overlooking the whole town.
Uh-oh. A Gothic mansion filled with occult artifacts. That's not exactly a recipe for peace and quiet.
No, it wasn't. And the townsfolk knew it. Whispers about strange lights, sounds coming from the house. A growing unease settled over Wakefield. But it was Old E. Harrington's son, T. Harrington. He really understood the danger. He tried to warn everyone about his father, said he was meddling with forces beyond his control.
Now that is seriously creepy. A son warning about his own father. What exactly was he so worried about?
Well, T. Harrington, devout man, he saw his father's obsession as blasphemy, spoke of shadows moving without light, a voice whispering from beneath the earth, even claimed he'd seen things at Harrington House, things that defied explanation, just terrified him.
Yikes. Yeah, it sounds like he really believed his father was on a dangerous path, leading to something horrific.
He was right. Because on Halloween night, 1926, something terrible happened at Harrington House. It started with a faint green light flickering in the attic window, then a low hum vibrated through the air, then a scream, blood-curdling, echoed through the whole town, and then silence. By morning, the whole Harrington family vanished.
Just like that. Wow. What did the townsfolk think happened?
Terrified, of course. The sheriff, a man named Davies, he led the investigation. He went to Harrington House with his deputies, and what they found there, well, let's just say it wasn't your average missing persons case.
Oh boy. Lead the way. What did they find inside that spooky mansion?
Okay, so picture this. The mansion, locked from the inside, no forced entry. Inside Old E. Harrington's study, total chaos. Books and papers everywhere, filled with cryptic symbols, bizarre diagrams, and on one wall, a huge map of Wakefield.
A map? What was so strange about a map?
This wasn't your average map. Instead of roads and landmarks, the coastline was covered in red circles, dozens of them, arranged in a spiral pattern. And there was something else, something really unnerving.
Don't leave me hanging. What else did they find?
In the basement, right in the center of the room, an altar made of solid black stone. And surrounding it, these deep gouges in the floor, arranged in concentric circles, almost like something was trying to claw its way out from beneath.
Whoa, that is a chilling image. What could possibly make marks like that?
That's what the sheriff was trying to figure out. And there's one more piece to this puzzle. In the attic, under the circular window, they found this huge brass contraption. Looked like some kind of telescope, pointed at the stars. And next to it, Old E. Harrington's notes. He wrote about a seal beneath the water, a barrier that was weakening. He was desperate to restore some kind of ancient knowledge. Wrote about being consumed by the shadow of our making.
The shadow of our making. Wow, that sounds like a confession. Like he knew he was responsible for something terrible.
And there was one more line. Gave me chills when I read it. The seal lies beneath the water, unbroken for centuries. Its protection wanes. It's like he knew something terrible was coming.
Definitely sounds like Old E. Harrington was playing with fire and knew the risks. So what happened next? What did the sheriff do with all this information?
The sheriff. He knew this wasn't just a simple disappearance. But what was he supposed to do? What could he do? Well, he decided to seal up Harrington House. Figured whatever was inside was safe or contained. At least for now. But the town, let's just say things took a turn for the terrifying.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, a whole family vanishes. Their house is packed with creepy stuff. There's talk of ancient seals and things clawing to get out. Not exactly relaxing.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Fishermen wouldn't go out on the water anymore.
Yeah.
They said the tides felt wrong and that they saw these dark shapes moving under the surface.
Oh, wow.
And kids started having nightmares, whispering about this strange voice in the walls. Like a droning. It was like this wave of fear washed over Wakefield.
Interesting. It's like these stories always focus on the disruption of the natural order, the tides changing, kids not sleeping, these things that represent stability, that they're suddenly in chaos.
And then the disappearances started.
Wait, more people disappeared? Besides the Harringtons?
Yeah, not all at once, but one by one. Over a week, 3 people, gone, no trace. The sheriff knew he had to go back to Harrington House, but this time he needed help. He called in an expert, Dr. H. Crane, a professor specialized in folklore and the occult.
A specialist? Whoa. Sounds like the sheriff was starting to suspect this wasn't just any crime. What could a folklore expert do in a situation like this?
She might be the only one who could understand the clues Old E. Harrington left behind. On November 15th, they went back. The sheriff, his deputy, and Dr. Crane.
Okay, I'm hooked. What happened? Did they find any answers inside that house?
Answers? Maybe. More questions, definitely.
Sure.
But the atmosphere in the house, it had changed. Felt heavier somehow, like oppressive. The air in the basement, thick, hard to breathe, and those gouges around the altar, deeper, like something had been really trying to get free.
It does sound like whatever was trapped down there was getting stronger, more desperate. I wonder if bringing Dr. Crane into it somehow agitated it.
That's a chilling thought. Dr. Crane seemed to understand what they were dealing with, at least a little. She confirmed the altar wasn't just a ritual site. It was a barrier, a seal. But even she didn't know what it was holding back.
A seal. What could be sealed away under a little town like Wakefield? What could possibly be so powerful?
Right, and the answers might be gone with the Harringtons. But get this, they went up to the attic, and Dr. Crane took a closer look at that brass thing, the contraption. She figured out it wasn't a telescope, but a device for observing something, aligning some kind of forces.
So not summoning something, but containing it. Maybe T. Harrington misunderstood his father. What if Oldie Harrington wasn't trying to unleash whatever was trapped? What if he was trying to keep it imprisoned?
Maybe. Oldie Harrington even wrote in his notes, "We are not summoners, we are stewards." Almost makes you wonder if he regretted what he'd done. But before they could figure out more, things took a terrifying turn.
What do you mean? What happened?
The house started shaking, violently. This horrible smell filled the air, like rotten eggs and sulfur. And then this roar, deafening, from deep under the house, like nothing human.
The seal was breaking. Whatever Oldie Harrington had tried to contain was getting loose.
They barely got out, alive. But the sheriff, he was never the same. Hair turned white that night, and he could barely talk. Whatever he saw down there broke him.
He got a glimpse of whatever that threat really was, and it shattered him.
Within weeks, Wakefield was deserted. People just left, couldn't get away fast enough. Harrington House is still there, on that hill, a crumbling monument to whatever's underneath.
Wow. It's a reminder that some secrets should stay buried, and some shadows undisturbed. But it also makes you wonder, what exactly was sealed away beneath Wakefield, and what happened to the Merringtons and everyone else who disappeared?
I know, right? Were they taken? Did they escape? Or did something worse happen to them?
This is where things get really interesting, isn't it? We have the what, but the why is a total mystery. What do you think, listeners? What secrets are hidden down there? What really happened to those people?
We want to know. Leave a comment and let's figure this out together, putting the story together. There was one thing that really stuck with me. Remember those red circles on the map? In Oldie Harrington's study?
Yeah, the locations and how they were laid out.
Right. It wasn't just the places, it was the pattern. So unsettling.
Yeah, the spiral.
Yeah?
The sheriff even called it an Ouroboros, the serpent eating its own tail.
Exactly. And that symbol, it means a lot, right? Cyclical time, eternity, life and death all tangled up. What if Oldie Harrington wasn't dealing with a single thing, but like a force, a cycle he was trying to control?
Whoa, that's a fascinating thought. Definitely adds a whole new layer to this. Yeah, it's not just a monster in a box. It's like a force of nature, ancient and powerful.
And those concentric circles, carved around the altar, getting deeper each time someone went down there. It's like ripples, spreading out from a central point, stronger over time.
What if those circles on the map weren't just random? What if they were points in this cycle, where the barrier between our world and whatever's underneath, where it was weakest?
Ooh. Okay, now I'm getting chills.
Maybe those were the spots where the seal was thinnest, most vulnerable to whatever Oldie Harrington was trying to hold back.
Okay, so those disappearances, the missing people, what if they were connected to those circles on the map?
Right.
What if those were the weak points, where the shadow of our making could seep through?
Terrifying, but it kind of makes sense. Maybe those locations were important to the ritual somehow, places where the veil was thin. Or maybe, and this is even more disturbing, maybe they were sacrifices to appease whatever was down there.
I don't even want to think about that. It changes how you see Oldie Harrington. Not a protector, but someone who would sacrifice people to maintain that balance. But what was he trying to do? What was the goal?
Yeah, that's the ultimate mystery. What was that seal really about? What was Oldie Harrington trying to control or access? And what happened after it broke? Did anything survive?
I guess we may never know. But one thing's for sure. Wakefield. It's a reminder. Some secrets should stay buried. Some shadows, better left undisturbed. It's the kind of story that stays with you. This echo of the darkness, lurking just beneath the surface.
This whole deep dive has been like looking into an abyss. We've seen these glimpses of something vast, incomprehensible, but we don't really know what it is. Wakefield is holding its secrets tight.
So what do you think, listeners? What's hidden down there? What happened to the Harringtons? And those missing people? What was Oldie Harrington really up to? We want to hear your theories, your insights, but what do you make of this story?
Leave us a comment. Let's keep talking about this. Sometimes the best way to deal with something scary is to share it. Shine a light in the darkness. Explore those mysteries.
Until next time, deep divers, keep those lanterns lit and your minds open. The shadows are always listening, and the deep dive continues.